Hi, it's me JD and welcome back to my channel. Lately, I've been getting emails on how to create handmade cards with minimal supplies. These kinds of cards are simple to make, they're easier to make, they're very budget friendly, and they're great for either kids or crafty beginners, or perhaps when you don't have the time. You probably have most of these supplies in your crafty stash already, or they can be found in your local craft store. First, you want to start off with some cardstock colors of your choice. Then you want some note cards, and you'll want a good pair of scissors. I also keep my wrist-friendly scissors on hand too. These are just a little easier on my grip. You'll also need some craft glue. I like this one because it has a fine tip, but an Elmer's glue would work fine as well. Some string might come in handy, especially since this video is about handmade birthday cards. You'll need a ruler for those straight edges, as well as a pencil to just mark off what you need to cut. And feel free to pull in any supplies from either your desk or your junk drawer. This video is about using what you have. So be sure to hit the subscribe button and we'll jump into the first birthday card idea. This first handmade birthday card idea consists of using pennant banners, and pennant banners are always a sign of a celebration, so they'd be perfect for a birthday card. I started off by using some scratch paper to make a template for my pennant banner, so they'll all be the same size and shape. So for this, my triangle was 1 inch across the top and 1.5 inch along, right down the center. And then I'll use some scissors to cut this out, and this will be my template to cut out all of my other triangle pennants. So you don't necessarily need a die cutting machine or dies if you are short on supplies or you can't find your dies, which is sometimes the case in my case. Then you can always just create your own template. If you're going to cut out multiple of the same color, stay tuned towards the end of the video. I'll show you a quick way to do that as well. So I'm just going to cut out my pennants in different colors, and then it's time to assemble my card. I always like to lay out my pieces before I stick them onto my card base. And I want these pennants to look like they're hanging. So you can use any kind of liquid adhesive you have on hand. I prefer to use one with a fine tip, just in case you have to cut out anything delicate, and it's a little more precise than the regular Elmer's glue. After that, you'll start sticking on your pieces. The glue I'm using is a really strong glue. It also gives me a little bit of wiggle room as far as time, and it dries clear, so that's why I love to use this glue. Speaking of the glue, I'm going to draw a glue line across my pennants to resemble rope, or string, I should say, that my pennants are going to hang from. And so with the fine tip, I'm able to do that. Just squeeze out a very fine line of adhesive, and then I just lay my string right across that adhesive. And like I said before, it dries clear, so you won't be able to see any of that stuff that oozes out. When the adhesive is mostly dry, I'll just flip this card base over and cut off the excess. I'll attach this to a note card once I'm done creating all my card bases, but this card was pretty simple to put together, and it can be used for any kind of celebratory occasion. Another variation on that previous card is to create a template that has this, five-sided shape. I mean, it's a pentagon, but it's not the traditional pentagon. Anyway, you see this shape a lot in bunting banners or flag banners. Sometimes they are called pennant banners, but it's really easy to create. I think the dimensions were like 1 inch across again, and then like 3/4 of an inch vertically. And I cut this out of copy paper and then trace it on my cardstock to create different banner flags. The simple and straight lines make it a super easy shape to cut out. You can also draw your templates right up against each other to save yourself some time and cuts. This kind of design with the pennant banners or bunting banners, whatever you call them, it would also be a great way to personalize your card by either writing some letters on each pennant flag or writing specific numbers if it's for a birthday card or anniversary celebration. Just as before, I'm going to make it appear as if these flags are hanging from a piece of string. Like I said, just take a fine tip for your adhesive and squeeze your adhesive out across your flags and then lay down some string over the top. And then you can cut off all the excess. You can also mix up the different shapes of your banner flags or make them different sizes. I think that'd be really cute as well. This first birthday cake card is super simple to put together. You could use scrap paper, you could use washi tape even, just something that resembles a cake layer. So I'm being more precise than I need to be with my cake layers of paper, but I'm measuring out the bottom layer with a pencil and ruler and just cutting that by hand. You can also use a paper trimmer too. And as I cut layer by layer, I'm making sure that my bottom layer is the biggest layer. And then I'm going to, shrink my next layer down about, a half an inch or so. And I'll measure that out and then cut it. All of my cake layers have the same height, as in they're about an inch tall, but different widths. So I think the first one's like 4 inches, and it's like 3.5 inches, and then 3 inches, and so on and so forth. And then with my liquid adhesive, I'll put some on the back and then stick that onto my card front. And as I'm laying on all of these cake layers, I'm realizing that I might have been inspired by my kids' stacking ring toy. So to make it actually resemble a birthday cake, I'm going to take out my pen and draw in a layer of frosting, quote unquote. If I had the room, I'd probably put a candle on top or maybe a cake stand along the bottom. And one of the most favorite parts of a birthday is usually the presents, so I'm going to put some presents on the front of my card. And I'll do that by just drawing out some rectangle and square shapes to resemble the gift boxes. This is another great card idea for using up any paper scraps that you have in your crafty stash. You could coordinate the colors of the presents to the recipient's favorite colors or perhaps their party theme, or you could use pattern paper. That would be really cute as well. So for the next step, I'm going to pull out some washi tape, and that will represent the ribbon for all of my gift boxes. And for any excess, rather than cutting them off, I'm just going to stick them on the back. For the ribbons, you can also hand draw the ribbons on, or perhaps use like actual ribbon, or make different paper strips and adhere those on as well. Next, I'll just take some adhesive and attach all of my gift boxes onto my card front. I wanted bows on top of my gift boxes, so I'm cutting out little strips of washi tape and creating little loops. And then I'll take each loop and attach those to each gift box. These little 3D bows just add some really cool dimension to my card, and they're super easy to create. All you have to do is just use some strong liquid adhesive and stick those on there. I also press it down with like the other end of a pencil or a pen just to make sure they're really stuck on there. Now, if you don't have time to cut out all of those different smaller gift boxes, you can also make one giant present card. So again, take out your scrap paper and measure a good box size for your card front. For all of these card fronts, I'm using an A2 sized note card end card. So that's about 4.25 inches by 5.5 inches. And now I'll put some glue on the back of my gift box, and I'll stick that onto my card base. I'm going to pull out some ribbon to give this card some extra texture. And this ribbon, it's kind of like a hybrid between a paper ribbon and a fabric ribbon. I got it from like the clearance bin, but it's nice that it looks like fabric, but it really holds well like a paper ribbon. And so I'll do that. I'll attach my ribbon to my note card, and like before, I'm going to make different loops for my gift present bow. Typically with fabric ribbons, you'll have to use some kind of hot glue. Because this is a really cheap ribbon where it's almost like a stiff fabric or a paper fabric, the liquid adhesive is holding together the loops pretty well. I'll just dab off the excess and then cut some more strips to complete my ribbon. And you'll see that my card represents like an offset giant gift box rather than the entire gift box. And I think that can be cool. You can also make one that's just a giant gift box, but this technique makes it appear like this gift box is really, really big. So big that it doesn't even fit on the card. This card was inspired by all of the heart balloons that are out there, and mostly because I can't hand draw a symmetrical balloon. So the next best thing would be to create balloon hearts. And I'm sure you've seen this card idea floating around on Pinterest or on Google. I mean, it's hard to know who the original creator was, but whoever it was, thank you. So what I'm doing is I'm creating a template for my heart balloons, and that first heart looked a little weird. So yeah, the second heart worked out much better, and that's the card I'm going to use to create my my other heart balloons. Once I've got the template, I'm just going to cut out strips of paper and then fold it in half lengthwise, and that's, you know, how most everyone learn to cut out hearts, is that you cut the paper, you fold the paper in half, and then you create this half heart shape, and then you cut out the half heart shape and you fold it open, and it creates a symmetrical heart. Using that same template, I repeat this step a couple of times until I have enough balloons to create my balloon bouquet. I'll adhere all of these down with more glue, and I like to work from the top to bottom when I'm creating a balloon bouquet, and I'll show you why. I have one balloon left, but I'm saving that until later. So I'm cutting out some string for all of my balloons. And instead of creating a bouquet, you can also create individual balloons as well. That'd be really cute for a card too. But for this card, I wanted a bouquet, so I'm cutting out string about the same length, and then I'll tie a knot on one end of all the string just to help keep them together. This will also make it easier to glue my bundle of string to my card front. So once I've got that knot on there, I'm going to get out my glue again and just put a dab of glue where I want my string bouquet to be. And so that knot will help hold all my string together and gives me a firm place to secure all of these strings. Now I'll glob on some more glue on top of the knot, and here was the balloon that I was setting aside. It's to cover up all of the string knot. And then I'll just cut off all of the excess string, and this card is pretty much finished. And if you didn't have the time to cut up all of those individual balloons, you can also make one giant offset balloon. So I'm playing around with different round things on my desk to create the perfect balloon shape, and I'm not creating the whole balloon shape, just the top of the balloon. So I'm trying to find the best round thing on my desk that will give me that effect. I'm using more scrap paper, and it looks like my foam tape roll was the winner, and I'll just hand cut that out really quickly. Using a white colored pencil, I'm going to draw the sheen of the balloon, the shininess, just to give it more of that, balloon effect. So I'm just going along the arch of the balloon, just an inch away from the border, and I'll create a second little line beneath the main line, and that makes it really resemble a balloon. So now I'll just take some more adhesive and put this on the back, and then I'll adhere this onto my card front. While that is drying, I'm going to use more scrap paper and cut out some confetti for that white space on my card. Normally, I would add some kind of stamped sentiment or die cut sentiment, but since this is a minimal supply card, I wanted to keep things simple and use up what I already have. I'll just stick down all of those loose confetti pieces with some more glue, and this balloon confetti card is almost finished. This next handmade birthday card idea is another card dedicated to the birthday cake, but this time the focus is going to be on the candles on the birthday cake. I'm cutting down my paper scraps to about the same height, and then I'll pull out my paper trimmer to create little strips of paper which will represent my birthday candles. Feel free to hand cut this, but since I kind of wanted all of my candles to look uniform in width and in height, I thought the paper trimmer would be the easiest route. While I have my paper trimmer out, I'll use the opportunity to create my birthday cake. And I'm just cutting out a really big piece of cardstock in a rectangular shape. And now I'm trying to position it onto my card fronts, and I think a tall cake would work the best in this scenario. So I'll just lay out all of my candles in the pattern that I want it to be. Then I will glue all of my candles down. And if this card is going to be for a younger age recipient, then you could match up the number of candles with their age. And so using one of those yellow paper strips, I'm cutting out little triangles that will represent the candle flames. Once those are glued down, I'm going to put some more adhesive on to lay my cake over the top of all of my candles. And my cake was looking a little uneven, so I decided to add one more candle over to the left. I'll just cut off the excess cake, and this card is really cute. I love how colorful it is. Nowadays, I don't see too many birthday hats, but they're still a great symbol of a birthday celebration. So I'm gonna draw and cut out some birthday hats. So this was the technique I was talking about earlier, where I needed to cut out a bunch of triangle shapes all at once. So what I'm doing is that I'm marking, I made a rectangle, and then I'm marking on one side every ½ inch mark, and then on the other side every inch mark. And then I'll just connect the ½ inch marks to the inch marks, and that will create triangles that are all the same height and length and size. In essence, it's a very mathematical way to create a zigzag. I'll cut out this rectangle first so it's easier for me to hold the paper, and then I'll cut along all of those diagonal lines, and I'll know that all of my triangles are pretty much the same size and shape. I'll glue down all of my triangle birthday hat shapes in a fun pattern. I even have some of them hanging off just to make the pattern a little more realistic. And then once that is done, I'll set this aside to dry while I take out my hole punch, and I'm going to create the palms for all of my birthday hats. I got a little carried away with my hole punch because I created way too many palms, but it was just so fun. I'll glue down the palms to the tops of the birthday hats, and then I'll flip my card front over just to cut off all those excess birthday hats hanging off the edge, and this card is almost complete. Using my remaining paper scraps, I'm going to cut up some pieces of cardstock that are about the same width and length. Then I'll bring out some of my ergonomic scissors that have the perfect blade length to cut my paper strips into fringe. If your kid needs practice with scissors and their motor skills, then this would be like the perfect activity for them. In addition to cardstock, you can also use tissue paper for this kind of paper craft. I think that would add to the piñata fiesta party effect we're going for here. So now I'll add some adhesive only to the top of my fringe strip. You notice I didn't cut all the way down the strip because I needed that area at the top to glue all of my pieces together. You can attach these top to bottom or bottom to top, but I kind of went like top and then bottom and then in between just because I wanted to space all of my fringe pieces out pretty evenly. Next, I'll use my fingers to just fluff up some of these fringe pieces to give it some more texture. Once all of my cards were finished, I went ahead and cut out and scored and folded some top folding note cards to attach all of these card fronts to. I'm using some tape runner as that's the quick and easy way to adhere all of these card fronts in a hurry. I've noticed that once people find out that you make greeting cards, then they're always hitting you up if you have a spare card for them to use for some either last minute occasion or just one that's coming up. And so I knew I wanted to make a bunch of birthday cards because that's Birthday cards and thank you cards are what people steal from me the most. Let's be honest. And so it's always good to have a bunch of birthday cards to have on hand just in case you need it or an unexpected birthday comes up. And I left these generic enough so that they can be used for any recipient. Anyway, I hope you guys had fun watching all of these DIY birthday card ideas. Let me know which one of these were your favorite, and if you like this minimal supply series I'm doing.